Hello everyone, and welcome back to another forecast update. I hope you are doing well and having a great Tuesday so far. In this evening's update, we're going to be talking about the winter storm that'll impact portions of the south-central United States, and then we'll move to the east and impact portions of the mid-south and even into the mid-Atlantic later this week into this weekend. And that'll be the main topic for this update, and we'll be breaking down what the models show at this time, but we will not be able to look at any really snowfall forecast because it is just a little far out to look at the specific amounts, so we'll save that for a later video. But let's go ahead and get started with tonight's update. First, starting out with the GFS weather model, and this is the latest 18Z run, and it's actually still loading right now, but we're able to see pretty far out and well into the length of the storm just because it is 120 hours out. And so by early Thursday morning, this coming Thursday, it shows snow already showing up across West Texas, and then by midday Thursday, you have snow already breaking out across portions of Colorado, and that kind of dives to the south, even maybe a little bit of snow going across Nebraska and Kansas. And then our main storm right here, this is where the main snow will be, into Oklahoma and even northern Texas by midday Thursday. And then if we get into the run a little bit further and go to late Thursday night and early on Friday, you have snow, heavy snow that is, across Missouri, southeast Kansas, eastern Oklahoma, even into northeastern Texas here, Arkansas, Missouri, and then into a small section of Mississippi there. Then we have our low moving to the east and intensifying just a little bit, and still you have snow all the way out here into northeastern Texas again, Oklahoma, Missouri, even up to Illinois, Indiana, western Kentucky, western Tennessee, northern Mississippi, northern Alabama. And this has trended a little bit less for the ice side of the storm, so that is definitely a good thing for these areas, but it has kind of trended more of a rain event for Louisiana and quite a bit of Mississippi and Alabama. But the thing we're going to have to watch here is there's going to be a pretty sharp cutoff between the rain and the snow. So, I mean, really, you could be only a couple, 10, 20, 30 miles from rain and have heavy snow, or it could be the opposite, be 10, 20, 30 miles from snow and then just be in some heavy rain, a cold rain. And there might be just a little bit of variation here, maybe with some ice and sleet mixed in for sure. That's no doubt about that. But I think that these areas could see mostly either a heavy cold rain or a heavy snow in those areas, especially into the south. And then we continue that on, and that still impacts portions of Illinois, Indiana, Missouri, Arkansas, northern Mississippi, northern Alabama, the entire state of Tennessee, Kentucky as well by midday Friday. And then you continue that on, and we'll look at the southeast in just a second, but we're going to continue to look at other models here in just a second. But again, that low heads on to the east, and still you have some even back end snow affecting Mississippi, northern Alabama, Tennessee, even Arkansas here, and southeast Missouri, Illinois, Indiana by late Friday night into early on Saturday. And still that continues to move out to the east, and you still have some snow there by late Friday night and early on Saturday, impacting portions of the mid to upper south there. And then finally it's out of frame by the late morning hours on Saturday to midday Saturday. And so if we go back here, and again, that's the latest GFS weather model there, and we're going to look at the 12Z European weather model here as well. So if we continue this forward here, continue on, then we go to Thursday morning, still snow showing up across portions of Colorado, Nebraska, Kansas there, with that kind of energy meeting up with our southern energy here, which is that snowstorm down here. And then the European wants to show snow a little bit farther to the north to begin with by midday Thursday, into these areas, and even some snow showing up across New Mexico as well. And then that will continue on by Thursday afternoon, Thursday evening, and then you kind of have this snow kind of wrapping around this, and you have some cold air funneling in, and so that would actually turn this to a snow event farther to the south and southwest really of this area here. And then that will continue on, and then you have some snow finally starting to fall there into northeastern Texas. And then if we go back here a little bit Still snow already falling into Kansas, Oklahoma, Missouri, Arkansas by late Thursday night into early on Friday. And then continuing that on, again, you have a sharp cutoff here between heavy snow and heavy rain for these areas. And still snow showing up into portions of the Midwest and Ohio Valley there. And again, that heaviest concentrated area of snow being into Arkansas, showing up on the European weather model into Oklahoma and northern Mississippi. And again, not much of an ice event is showing up here on the latest runs from the European and both the GFS as well. And then that will continue on to the east. A little bit of some sleet showing up there into Alabama on Friday morning. Still snow all the way up here in Illinois, Indiana, Missouri, Kentucky, Tennessee, Arkansas. Rain pretty much to the south of northern Mississippi and northern Alabama is the only places that's going to see snow from this, according to the European weather model. But this could change still, and but this will be mostly a rain event for Mississippi and Alabama for the most part. But still, northern Alabama could see some snow from this, and really Louisiana has trended a lot warmer, so this will be basically an entire just heavy rain or really heavy cold rain for these areas into Louisiana, central and southern Mississippi, and central, not all of central, but most of central Alabama and southern Alabama as well. And again, that will continue on by midday and Friday afternoon. Still snow showing up here across Tennessee, Arkansas, southeastern Missouri, southern Illinois, Indiana, Kentucky, and Tennessee. And that is again by Friday night to Friday morning there, and that's out of frame. And then we get to Saturday morning, and that is completely out of frame. So the good news is this has trended a little bit better as far as ice, so we may not have to worry about that as much in the kind of mid-south areas. But finally, we'll look at the European AI model. And so again, this will not show our snow. It won't show snow in the blue or the sleet and freezing rain in those other colors, but it will only show average precipitation, and that'll be in the green to, again, this color chart right here, these yellow, orange, and red and pink colors. So it won't show snow, but we'll talk about the areas that could see snow from this as well. So the European AI model has this low pressure staying not pretty far south, but kind of in the same areas, but you have that moisture a little bit farther to the north, I should say, into these areas, into Kansas and Missouri. And this is by Thursday night into early on Friday. And then if we go to our temperatures here, you have below freezing temperatures into Oklahoma, northeastern Texas, Arkansas, even northern Louisiana shows below freezing there, or at freezing, even up into Missouri and Kansas, of course, into Illinois, Indiana, for those areas. So the European AI model may have more of a mix of wintry precipitation falling into northern Louisiana there, so that's just something to consider. And then if we get to Friday morning, still below freezing temperatures are expected into northern Alabama, northern Mississippi, Tennessee there. And then you continue that on to midday Friday, and still you have that low pressure situated down here near the coast, and still freezing temperatures, into Tennessee, portions of Arkansas. Not sure why it's showing up this area here of below freezing temps, and then this area of above the freezing temps. I'm not sure why it's showing that, but I think just maybe that warmer gets kind of pushed in there from way down here in the Gulf just for a little bit. But I'm not too sure if I like that look on the European AI model. But continuing that on, it does show that area being below freezing after that period, late Friday night to early on Saturday. So we'll just have to watch that as well. But the European AI model does keep this it's kind of weird. Again, just as I was saying, it keeps it a little warmer in some of these areas, but a little colder in the southern areas. So I'm not sure if I'm a big fan of that showing up there, but again, that's just the European AI model, and it's always good to see other models so we can compare them. Now looking at the GFS weather model here, and going to Friday morning, still you have that snow breaking out across, again, still Illinois, Indiana, Kentucky, Tennessee for sure, northern Alabama, even northern Georgia, and central Georgia looks like it could see some sleet and freezing rain by midday Friday. And then you have snow out here into the western Carolinas as well. And then by Friday night, you have some heavy snow falling into Tennessee, even northern Alabama, up even to Ohio there, even West Virginia, Virginia as well. And then by Friday night into Saturday, you have kind of an ice storm event across maybe northern Georgia, northwestern South Carolina, into maybe central North Carolina as well. And then again, heavy snow looks like it would fall into Virginia, West Virginia, Kentucky, Tennessee, Ohio, much of the mid-Atlantic. And then you still have some ice associated with that moving into Virginia there. And then that would head on up to the north, and we'll talk about the Northeast in just a second, but we won't spend as much time on it just because the models are still flip-flopping a little bit for that track. But now we'll look at the European weather model here, and looking at our, again, snow, rain, and freezing rain and sleet for this. So if we go to midday Friday, snow again already breaking out across parts of northwestern Georgia, the western Carolinas, and then into Kentucky as well, southern Indiana, southern Illinois, even into Ohio Friday evening. And that will continue on to the east, and you have your low pressure right here around the Florida panhandle. And not a lot of ice showing up with this. That's definitely a good thing for sure. And you get into late Friday night into Saturday, just a little bit of a signal there, maybe into the Piedmont of North Carolina, and you just have a somewhat maybe light to moderate band of snow up here into the mid-Atlantic and portions of the Northeast. And again, we'll get to that in just a second, and then that would move on to the east and strengthen a little bit there. Then you could have some snow up here into maybe Delaware, Maryland, southern New Jersey possibly, and that would move out by the late morning hours on Saturday to maybe midday Saturday, and then that would go out into the Atlantic. And that's one of the differences I'm talking about when I say flip-flopping, because the GFS has been pretty consistent with showing this going up towards the Northeast, not as much as it did the other day and the last couple of days, but again, it still shows maybe a little bit of a signal for it to go up there into the Northeast. So we'll get to that again in just a second. And then lastly, we'll look at the European AI model here, and again, it will not show snow or wintry precipitation. And again, you want to 18 midday Friday 18Z, and then you still have below freezing temperatures into these areas here, and then you just have some heavy snow moving into the mid-south and upper south into the Ohio Valley. And we'll go back a little bit here and look at Georgia and South Carolina, and does have below freezing or at freezing temperatures into South Carolina, northern South Carolina, and northern Georgia. So some of these areas could maybe see some heavy snow for a little bit into northwestern South Carolina, northern Georgia, maybe Friday night into Saturday. We'll have to watch that too. And it would keep really extreme northwestern South Carolina pretty cold for that, not pretty cold, but at least below freezing for that time frame. So maybe some snow could fall into those areas as well. And again, I think we'll still have maybe a little bit of a ice threat or just wintry mix in here into these areas here into the Carolinas, Georgia, even into Alabama, Mississippi as well, where you have that sharp cutoff. And then that would finally move to the east and take the somewhat same path as the European weather model, the regular model, not the AI model. But that is going to be it for these models for the South Central and Southeast U.S. here. So now we'll go ahead and just take a quick look at the Northeastern U.S. So now looking at the Northeastern U.S. here, and so if we go back here to Saturday morning on the 11th of January, you have snow all the way up in here into the Mid-Atlantic, Northeast, New York State, Ohio, Pennsylvania, West Virginia, Maryland, Delaware, New Jersey. And then as you get to midday Saturday, the GFS weather model shows some heavy snow moving into New Jersey, Rhode Island, Massachusetts, into Connecticut as well, Vermont, New Hampshire, but mainly that concentrated area being into Delaware, New Jersey, and Maryland there. And basically just the entirety of the Northeast would see maybe a little bit of snow, but mainly those, again, areas into Maryland, Delaware, and New Jersey. And this would have that low pressure getting pretty close to these areas, so we'll just have to watch this. And the trend has kind of been, the trend has definitely been farther to the east and out to the Atlantic, so it is favoring the European weather model just a little bit more, but still we'll have to watch for this, as we could still see some shifts in the coming days for the Northeast. And that moves out, and then you could have maybe another system behind that early next week. But we go to the European weather model, and we'll look at the same thing for here. And again, it does show some snow to the Northeast and Mid-Atlantic, but it's not as strong, not as heavy, I should say, for these areas, because that low pressure is a little bit weaker, and it's just going into the Atlantic and not making that turn farther to the Northeast, like the GFS shows. So it would just have that heaviest area of snow being Saturday morning into the Northeast, much of the Northeast besides maybe Vermont, New Hampshire, and Maine for that. So now finally we'll look at the European AI model and see what it shows here. And we go here, go to Friday, and then go to Saturday morning. Still kind of the same thing with the European weather model. It only shows that area of snow maybe Saturday morning into New York State, Pennsylvania, Delaware, New Jersey, Connecticut, Rhode Island, Massachusetts, Vermont maybe, and New Hampshire potentially. But again, it just shows that same path, or near the same path, compared to the European. So these two favor each other for sure. So that'll just be something to watch. And if we were to say get a turn to the Northeast, this would be a much heavier snow event across these areas here in the Northeast. But we'll just have to watch these trends and see what all happens. But for right now, I think we are trending to more of a eastward shift. So these areas could probably see less of a heavy snow chance, or at least a moderate snow chance, as we get into this weekend. So that'll be about it for tonight's update. And real quick, we'll look at some of the areas that have been given a winter storm watch. So these areas here into southeastern Oklahoma, even into Arkansas, western Tennessee, northern Mississippi, even into northwestern Louisiana, and much of northeastern Texas here are already in a winter storm watch again for these areas. So that'll just be something to consider there. And we're probably going to see some more watches and warnings, not warnings, but at least watches, and eventually warnings. But we'll see some more watches probably starting at least tonight, and then as we get into the next couple of days for sure, over these areas here. And I would expect probably some more maybe into these areas, I would say, for the most part. And you'll probably get some more again up into these areas here. And then obviously as we get to later into the week, we'll have some more probably into these areas here farther to the east. But that'll be it for tonight's update. I appreciate all of y'all watching, and I hope y'all have a great rest of y'all's Tuesday.